Exactly. I learned this in my international relations, international development degree that we have to live our lives as global citizens. But who are global citizens? Disabled people. We are part of every country. We are in every country, and we deserve to be considered. And those. Hello, everyone. My name is Carl from Bulag Bennett Media. Today, we're doing another episode of the Fil-ling podcast, and today I have my very good friend. Go ahead.
Ellie, you guys have probably seen me before. I hope.
Of course, yes.
TheFakeEllie. I'm another blind, low vision friend, so I'm excited to be back. Thank you.
And today it's going to be a really interesting conversation because we're talking about anime. Definitely one of my pastimes and hobbies, and it's really interesting that it is one of my hobbies because it's a very visual medium, especially because the reason why it's so unique is because of its visual art style. However, today I'm going to be talking about kind of my experiences and struggles with liking anime, being part of the community, and things that we can do to improve the anime space so that it's more inclusive for us who are visually impaired, blind, and in general disabled. First of all, I kind of wanted to ask, so what do you usually use for your anime streaming service, or how do you access your anime, Ellie?
A law-abiding citizen that I totally am. I watch it on Netflix. I haven't used Crunchyroll before, but way back in the day in middle school, I was one of those people who watched whatever show I could get my grubby little hands on the Kiss Anime or Kiss Cartoon site. That was totally not pirated whatsoever, allegedly.
Rest in peace, Kiss Anime.
Oh, I know. So sad. But you can either watch it sub or dub, and personally I do dub, so I'm able to see what's going on while I'm watching it, because sub is too much for me to try to watch it and understand what's happening, because subtitles are visual and there's no audio description for animes, because it's not an American piece of media. So dub is the way I go. I know a lot of people make fun of me for it because the whole sub versus dub battle, but I do Netflix mostly, and cry that Kiss Anime is no longer.
Exactly. I think Netflix does actually a really good job. I noticed that because I was one of the few people who actually moved from sub to dub, which means my vision got worse, right? Just a little slightly, but it's a world of a difference having the ability to, okay, I don't have to work as hard. Because it really is such a, I have to put my brain to this. I need help. But it's very difficult to also ask for help, especially when you come from an experience and background where you didn't really need it at first. And that's what I went through when I was looking for places to watch my anime. Because I was, in fact, a Kiss Anime veteran.
Good. I feel like that's where you get your start with animes, and that's how you know, really obscure ones.
Of course, I mean, for real. Right now, I'm actually wearing a Homestuck shirt, so that's a very online, deep Tumblr era kind of thing.
Oh wow, that's a great crowd. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, no, I really agree. I've tried to do the whole sub thing before, but it does get super hard, and dub is a lot easier. But it's really sad that there's no accessible versions, because imagine, especially because animes are so colorful and vibrant, and there's a lot of cute animation jabs that you don't get to see if you're visually impaired, especially when certain characters go into the cute little chibi mode, and all the bits and skits come out, and I just think that's so cute when they do that, because there's some good bits.
It's very sad, especially because in anime, the biggest part of the show is the visual aspect and the drawing and the art. People will always complain without fail. Sometimes the audio could be bad, the CGI could be bad, but when the drawing and the overall visual aspect of the show is bad, people will really air their concerns about it, whether it be the backgrounds are blurry or the movement is executed poorly. And that's something that I never really understood as an anime fan, even when I had a little slightly better vision, because I was really more paid attention to the story, because that's what I can follow based on what I can hear and what I can read at the time anyway.
Fan service is also definitely something that's, needed in the anime community. We'll get mad if there's not enough fan service, but no, we're missing out on all that good fan service stuff.
I never really understood the appeal. Whatever, I still don't. But again, that's part of just having that unique experience, and it's also really a unique experience. Even though I said that Netflix is doing great at their attempts to try to make accessibility a more full and inclusive thing for their website, for others it's very difficult. I tried Funimation, I tried Crunchyroll. There's High Dive as well, but that one doesn't have as much in their catalog. It's also the same problem I have with Netflix, because they do great in accessibility, but they lack in the anime department. There's not a lot on their catalog. They have some good ones, especially JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm a watcher. I'm an enjoyer, if you may say. But it's also not the same to be able to access everything, and that's a part of accessibility. Majority, if not everything, should be inclusive for us, for people with disabilities.
Yeah, and something that goes, far beyond anime is the fact that certain countries will reserve the right to audio description, like the English audio description for this show, and so therefore no other country can have this audio description title right now, which that's just not fair, even if that show's airing on like Netflix or another streaming service in another country. Yet you don't get the audio description. Yet with subtitles, oh yeah, we'll throw subtitles out there. So it's one of those unfair things when it comes to accessibility.
Another part of that too is when you're bringing up subtitles, many of the times it's not actually possible to make adjustments to the subtitles because they're hard burned or hard coded into the video. They're actually just part of the visual aspect. They're not a text file. You can actually pull up what they're saying and have it as maybe like a Word document or something like that. You can't pull it up and say, okay, I want a bigger size. Can I get this in 24 point? Can I get this in bold? Can I get it in a background that's more favorable to my contrast needs? So is the opacity able to change? Can I make it black as the background? Can I make it white as the background? That's something that's also severely lacking.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. Shut up.
It's very difficult, and I think I'm sitting in a position, especially here in the United States, that we have access to some of these platforms as well. That's another part of this. Some places have different access to some of these services. They might not be available in many countries, and the audio descriptions, like we mentioned earlier, those may not necessarily be in the language of another foreign country. As somebody who is Filipino American, who understands two languages, who understands two countries, I know that the access to audio descriptions in Tagalog or in Ilocano or Visayan or any of those other languages, it's very difficult to find those things, if not impossible. I've never heard of audio descriptions being done in certain countries or certain languages because they're deemed, quote unquote, not as valuable. But that's not how this should work. Blind people from every country, disabled people from every country should be able to access things. There shouldn't be this kind of hierarchy of, okay, well, we're disabled, but we're in the Imperial Core, we're in the West, we're in the United States. That disparity doesn't conform to the value of, equality or egalitarianism, right?
Like, accessibility is an afterthought and not a primary focus when creating a project within media, because subtitles, just copy and paste stuff from the script, that's easy, but we have to describe what's happening on the screen. Oh god, like that's gonna take how long for us to write that out, even though we write that out when we're storyboarding? Oh my goodness, where to go?
Exactly, like you have to do things right, and I think if you don't include accessibility in what you consider as doing things right, doing things by the book, then I just don't think that what your project or the thing that you're doing, it completely disqualifies it from being a quality product. Because if something is going to be a quality product, a quality piece of art, that it's something everyone can enjoy. Because ultimately, when you make art, an entire part of the process is understanding the audience and understanding who you're doing the art for, right?
Yeah.
disabled people are always going to be part of that, whether they like it or not. Whether you, as in the creator of a piece of art or a piece of media, disabled people are going to need to access. Disabled people are going to want to access that, and if you make it impossible for them, then that really a fleshed out product? Is that really a fleshed out idea? I don't think so.
No, not at all. Not at all. And this frustration is not just you and I. I actually, you make fun of me, go ahead, but I am a frequenter on the r/blind subreddit, and this is a really common frustration with modern day media, because there's not accessible versions. And even with, excuse me, I'm yawning over here, even with games and with a lot of things, our society is not built to be accessible, and it's always an aftermath of, oh, right, blind people can also play apples to apples, blind people can also watch Lucifer. It's really one of those things that it's such a common frustration that pretty much every blind person has. And we can, it's been 32 years since the signing of the ADA, and there's still so much progress that needs to be done. Yet there's a lot has happened, but there's still so much that needs to be done in a lot of aspects of our modern society, because I'm not sure if the ADA covers television too much, but we saw at, was it the Grammys, I think Olivia Rodrigo had an ASL interpreter follow her around the whole night. She hired one to follow her around the whole night, and she made sure that the camera people who would record her for interviews made sure that she was in frame, so that deaf audience members wouldn't have to switch to another channel, because there's usually a separate channel made for an ASL interpreter to be on when you're watching the Grammys or the NFL. And so she showed great allyship by bringing on and having an interpreter follow her, but it's great allyship, but that shouldn't be something that an artist should independently have to do.
Exactly. I learned this in my international relations, international development degree, that we have to live our lives as global citizens. But who are global citizens? Disabled people. We are part of every country. We are in every country, and we deserve to be considered. And those simple acts, like what Olivia Rodrigo did, it has to be part of a systematic and societal consideration, not just one person, not just a few groups of people. Because ultimately, what makes the hallmark of a society is not the actions of individual people, it's the actions of people in a collective who make an effort to make the world around them change. That's how we have big changes, how we have big successes, because it requires a large amount of people and a large amount of effort. And that doesn't happen overnight with small amounts of people.
Yeah, no, and even going back in the history books, I mean, to get the 504 and the ADA signed for the 504 Acts, there were the Berkeley sit-ins where people would starve themselves, and they would sit in at the Berkeley campus and they would starve themselves and not eat food. They were disabled people to show they're starving for accommodations. Or during the Capitol crawl for the signage of the ADA, disabled people threw all of their mobility aids, their canes, their wheelchairs, all of their accommodations at the base of the Capitol stairs and climbed up the steps one by one. There was an 8-year-old girl named Jennifer. Oh, what was her last name? It starts with a K. She was 8 at the time, and she was in a wheelchair, and she climbed up. And there were hundreds of people who went that day. And I mean, that those were huge movements for just to show the urgency of the need for the passing of the ADA. And, I feel like there needs to be something else, but I feel like there have been so many movements in our day. We've seen, people with service dogs being like, hey, please don't bring your dog into a grocery store, please. That's not cool. I don't want my dog to get attacked. Or you've seen You know, the lady who does the Disney Plus ASL interpreting, and Disney hasn't hired her. She's a dog walker who just does ASL interpretations for Disney movies.
Which is extremely ridiculous because many of these industries and many of the leaders in these industries, like Disney, and maybe that's not anime, but a leader in media, they have the resources and the ability to give those resources that are sorely needed. It's not
Right.
a case of, oh, well, sorry. And that's another part of the ADA that I extremely dislike, is this idea that, oh, well, the undue burden part of the ADA where they say, oh, hey, well, we can give you accommodations, but up to a certain point.
But because then you know, it's just unreasonable, and like, you know, you don't need that because, you know, you're a little selfish for being disabled, like, you know, wanting to have equal access, because that's like crazy. Yeah.
When we really can. It's very, very possible. I saw this tweet recently. Tweet goes like this: it's legal in the United States because in the United States it's very uncommon that we have gas service attendants. So in the Philippines, for example, you can actually ask somebody to put your gas in for you, maybe squeegee your the glass pane on your car or whatever. But in the United States, it's very uncommon. However, if you're disabled, for example, let's say you're a wheelchair user and you have a car with the specially designed wheelchair lift to get out of your car, it's very pain in the ass to get out of your car. You can actually ask the gas station to have somebody attend to your car, whatever you need them to do, put in your gas, instead of having to do it yourself. However, there's a stipulation that there has to be more than one worker at this gas station for you to get help. And it didn't make any sense to me because, hey, whether or not there's one person or not at a gas station, people are still need to get their gas. People still need to get wherever they're going. And it really should be mandated that, hey, okay, well, if there's not one person working at a time at a gas station, they can't get help. Why not we just make it mandatory for gas stations to have more than one employee, right? But it's always based on this like benefit risk analysis of like, okay, well, we have to give people accommodations, but only up to a certain point, because at a certain point it's not profitable. Like, what's wrong with you? We need help whether or not it's profitable or not.
It honestly, it kind of ties back to the whole capitalist greed thing. You know, I don't want to get too much into it, but you know, like, they're not going to do it unless it makes them money. And the fact that they have to have more than one employee, as a company, they're losing money, even though, you know, they can definitely afford to pay 2 employees out, you know, to work at once. And it's, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, if we can't make more money out of it, and it's just not worth it, until, you know, a rich person is either directly affected by a disability or they have a family member who has a disability. And then suddenly it's one of those things where they're suddenly donating to all these charities to find a cure, and, you know, it's the like weird, I don't want to say it's performative, but definitely it's performative, where it's like, oh, let's, you know, find that cure, and the whole internalized ableism thing of, you know, praying for them to get better and all that stuff.